morning. It's always a little bit of a challenge being the first one after the lunch and after the social event. That's the usual case, and I hope that at least you will be able to catch the main messages looking into the presentation. I have, is it only or not only 30 slides? And the time is 1.5 hours, a little bit less, 15 minutes less, and it means that any kind of question you have, you can raise it during the presentation. It's not a problem at all. I have to say that I'm not a salesperson. That's very important, and maybe I don't have all the answers for those ones, but if there is something that you are in particular very interested, we can actually address it afterwards. It's not a problem at all. My name is Pjer Vuckovic, and I'm coming from Telenor. I will give you just a short intro about the Telenor in order to see, for you to see where we are coming from, what we are addressing at the moment, and what are the markets we are present, and what kind of services. And at this moment, I'm responsible for the technology strategy and architecture, meaning putting the long-term perspective how the technology will be developed, in particular in Montenegro and Serbia, and also keeping the track about the financial impacts of the activities that we are running today, and also about the view how it will look in the future. Preliminary, not a lot of bullet points, just as I said, to explain you, for you to understand where we are coming from and what kind of view you can get from us. Talking about the operator view, what are the main trends in the telecom? Mostly focus on the technology enablers, what are the main elements that we see going forward, that, as colleagues said, we are able to earn some money, because you need to keep into the mind that point, most of you are coming from the universities, you are coming from the market, and sometimes our views can be slightly different than yours one. That's fair to say, and I will give you the short overview of the activities that we are running, some of the facts about the companies that Telenor has about when it comes to machine, because you will see later on there is a quite strong focus into the machine, and later on I will give you 2 use cases how we are working machine here in Serbia. Because I'm not quite sure how much you are aware, it's still a limited development here in Serbia when it comes to overall Internet of Things, machine, however we call it. Okay, Telenor. In Serbia from 2000, multinational, international company based in Oslo, present into the Europe, starting from the Scandinavia region into the Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and ending up into the CE region. It's Hungary, Serbia, Montenegro, and from the 1st of September it's also Bulgaria. That was the latest acquisition coming from Telenor. Second part, I would rather say the second world when it comes to Telenor is in Asia, and that's, if you are fair and honest to say, that's where almost the whole growth is coming, because Europe is quite saturated at this point of time. We are present into the India, we are present in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Taiwan, Malaysia, and the latest acquisition when it comes to the license, and that will be the greenfield development is in Myanmar. That started also from the 1st of September. You can see and you will recognize that a lot of activities that we are doing actually are the consequence of the fact that we are present into the different regions. And when you look into the strategies of Telenor, it's clearly stated. We can also, it's fair to say that we have slightly and sometimes quite big differences into the requirements how to develop our networks into the Europe and into the Asia. Okay, the second very important thing, we are also part as a group of the ownership on Wimpelcom, which is addressing the former Soviet republics and also part of Asia that we are not present at the moment as a company. For example, Vietnam is also there, which is giving us 17 plus 13, 14 markets we are present. It's about 30 markets with Telenor overall. And when you look into the population, it's quite decent population into the whole world. As I said, when it comes to the revenue, very important also for you to know that talking about the machine-to-machine and the needs that will come, probably Europe will have one story, but in the Asia it will be quite different, and the needs by itself are quite different. Another business that also Telenor is doing is broadcast. Just one sentence: Norway, everything. Fixed, mobile, cable, fiber optics, whatever you can imagine of the telco services, of course, based in Norway, another company we have there. Into the Europe, mostly mobile operations in every single country. In some of the countries we are also present with the fixed operations. Just to mention that in Serbia we also have the fixed license and we are offering fixed services. I will talk a little bit later about the convergence. For the machine-to-machine, convergence is one of the main enablers looking from our perspective. Okay, Asia at this particular moment, as I said, Myanmar will be added, still doesn't generate any revenue. We are only present into the mobile market, which will limit it, at least part of the potential later on for the machine-to-machine into the Asia. And looking into the needs, so far we have seen that there are some particular differences comparing Europe and Asia going forward. It's not only about the telco, traditional telco services. When it comes to the Telenor, we have the companies owned 100% mostly by Telenor, who are addressing different niche areas and niche markets. Aeromobile, global services, actually provided IT services to all of us. For you, the most important global companies are Telenor Connection and Telenor Objects. Those two companies really are working into the development on the machine-to-machine, and I know that Srđan is meeting a lot of Telenor people all around the globe into the projects they're running together, because Telenor is quite dedicated into the machine-to-machine business at this point of time. There are some more, but as I said, just for you to get the brief understanding what is the Telenor and what is the environment and actually the baseline that we are coming from. Any questions? Okay. Telco. I will spend a little bit more time, not in terms of the slide, but in terms of the number of slides, but in terms of the things that will be mentioned here. There are some particular trends that we need to address, and for some of them you have seen that they are already into the reality. For the others, we will see when it will happen. And talking about the trends in machine-to-machine, at least the mobile operators are having machine-to-machine into their strategies in the last 7 to 8 years. Is it that developed at this point of time? I would not say so. What are the reasons? We can talk about that one and discuss, but that's a fact into the reality. Communications, in order to build a profitable business, as I said, we are coming from the market and we need to build a profitable business. It's the main prerequisite, and that's the main cornerstone also for machine going forward. It will be the main challenge with the industry is that some thresholds are raised by the mobile telephony, and the revenues and the impact to overall society coming from the mobile telephony, and the way and extent how much it changed our life overall is building the expectations from everything what is coming afterwards. You can see we've done with Boston Consulting Group quite deep analysis about the influence, about the mobile penetration and to GDP of some countries. About 10% of the increase into the mobile penetration, the country can raise the GDP actually for 1.2%. For the guys who are from Serbia, I would just say that last year we had 0 growth into the GDP, unfortunately for Serbia. And the prediction for this year, I don't want to speculate, because there are official and unofficial ones. Rather soon we will see how it will end up for 2013. On top of everything what we are doing and what I said that it changed the way how we are thinking and living, there are some new opportunities that are built. Those new opportunities are started into the West Europe, but we have seen from Asia actually that for using the mobile services for e-health, m-health, m-education, it's even bigger need. Because the ways how they can reach certain information is rather limited, and it is very important actually to get it on spot. All those technologies can influence it quite a lot. You can see potential job creation. It's in number of thousands, of course. This is the period of 5 years. For example, for Serbia, we can see that about 100,000 new job opportunities can come as a consequence of the further development of the mobile industry. Will it happen? It's not actually depending only on the mobile industry, it's also depending on the main prerequisites that has to be built into the country in order to give us the opportunity to invest. Because the whole business environment has to be settled up by the government and the country, and the investors are those guys who has to invest and on the end of the story to earn some revenue on top of it. Asia, again, figures are bigger. In this research we haven't done intentionally anything into the northern European countries like Sweden, Norway, Denmark, because it would be rather quite hard to compare. That's unfortunately the facts, unfortunately for all of us. What is the new that is coming? So far, we have seen quite a big potential from the financial services. It's also fair to say that when you look globally, more people have SIM cards than bank accounts. It's very important, and Telenor already started working into the banking sector in some of the countries into the Asia, in Bangladesh and Pakistan. And of course, learning from those experiences and learning actually from the whole industry, one of the steps that Telenor done here in Serbia is that KBC Bank was acquired 2 months ago. It is very important because financial services together with additional services can bring a lot of benefits for overall society. The main question here is, do we see any of the killer application that we are talking for years? When I ask you, what do you foresee as a killer application when it comes to the telecom? Are there any?
You will be able to use at the end data mining and sell information about your users or some other companies. That might be one option.
Yes, and that's to build intelligence on top of that what you're having, but looking from you as a user. Well, what is the service that can consume terabytes, gigabytes? And when we started working into the development from 2G to 3G, there are a lot of expectations built from this killer application, and there was a quite big hype. Okay, combining mobile voice and the success and the mobile internet later on will be great success, but still we haven't seen a lot of those, and that's one of the reasons that you will see that there are a lot of diversification of the mobile and convergent operators into some other areas in order to try to have the complete offer to the customer that they're having. Next area is m-health. Maternal mortality, there is the research that is based on this one. Really, it's hard to say the real particular market benefit and opportunity, but we can see that at least looking from the local markets and to the region where we are present, there are certain areas that are not covered in the right way with the medical support, and you can utilize that one even more. Of course, you haven't seen machine-to-machine over there. As I said on the beginning, looking into the past, there are a lot of talks and hype. Actually, the biggest hype ended when it comes to operators and machine-to-machine, but it's also fair to say that next one is coming. the main reason why Nextcam is coming is the overall development of the technologies and the new business models that we'll spend a little bit later, a little bit more time to show at least some of the examples what people are doing into the Norway at this particular moment. Okay. Any comment, question, whatever? Srki, mogu li čašu vode? Bilo šta. Modern telco. How you as a students will define modern telco? What do you believe is modern telco? How do you see it? Any view? From the actually academic perspective and also from the user perspective.
Our model telco should try to come halfway to meet say users' expectations. I mean, offering services that are tailored to their needs rather than making general solutions available for everybody.
Okay, personalized as much as possible.
Yeah, and targeted.
Targeted.
I mean, in recent years, companies that went to tailor or the user needs are known to have higher revenues and also to have much higher also user. The users are more content with the services they get by having a personalized market solutions for them.
When it comes to the services, what in your case, what you will say that are the services that you need?
Well, for example, maybe for me it's important to have a good internet connection, but I don't send as much SMS as others. So if the company would come and say, look, we offer you, I don't know, 500 megabytes of traffic extra, and you don't pay nothing. For me, it would be better than saying, oh look, we have an offer with 100 minutes of voice traffic with 200 SMS and with 100 megabytes. For me, it would be interesting. I don't need the extra part, and I would need the company to see, I don't know, you have huge databases, you can see that, for example, one user makes, I don't know, more calls than other, and then you can put them in batches and tailor something for their needs.
Because it's pretty like that what you said, having intelligence and analysis over it. Any other view? Drajo, what you would like to get from the real tough?
Everything, everywhere.
Everything everywhere? That's I can recognize this everything everywhere from somewhere.
Yes.
I don't know. Okay, we will talk about 50 billion, don't worry. Just give. Everything everywhere.
Yes, so that I have service everywhere for any device. It's not only mobile phone. It's diversity of different devices that have connection, possibility to connect to network. Then also I have high speed.
What is the high speed? Any views? What is the high speed? 1, 2, 3. What is the high speed? Serki?
High speed.
Yes, of internet.
So I can do Skype without any problems.
And do you know how much it is?
No, over 10 megabits per second. At least.
Okay. Any other views? What is the high speed?
It depends on application. I mean, for Skype, it's 200-300 kilobytes for a voice call, for a video call, it's higher because they have high compression. If you need video, I don't know, multimedia streaming, you get, depending on the quality, 10 megabits or maybe 50 megabits. If you have, I don't know, 4K videos through the network, it's not possible, but still.
And on another side, how much this outage is actually connected with the amount you're paying. Are you ready to sacrifice something in order to pay less? Not you, I know. Coming from Ericsson, yes, fully understand. High standards.
But you shouldn't. I mean, the operator should do everything so for the user not to sacrifice.
No, are you ready to sacrifice in order to pay less? Well, do you have any threshold about that one? Paying, giving and taking, actually. Because that's supply demand all the time. That's the basic rule, whatever kind of business you're running. Okay. No, it's always nice to look from different perspectives, of course. Looking from the mobile operator, you have one set of the requirements, and this one goes focused on enabling cost-efficient convergence solution for everything that is coming from the digital. Talking about speed, it's not only the speed, it's combination of the speed and latency, throughput and latency. That's also fair to say. And we have seen at least evolution into the thinking of the guys who are using mobile broadband so far. Because when we started, it was download for the PCs. At this point of time, it's completely different experience with the smartphone. And it changed the perception of overall network and the requirements. That's why I said, well, what is the throughput that you would like to get? Because it's completely different, sometimes depending on the device that you're using. And also, what's fair to say, the whole value chain doesn't always depend only on one actor. You have terminal, mobile terminal vendor, you have network, another, or two vendors, depends. You have internet and connection that is in the country, and the whole value chain is actually running the whole impression about the network and the quality of experience that you are getting. Because if you had any opportunity to spend some time into the operators, you will see that they are measuring tons of KPIs, key performance indicators. But the old question is how to fit those technical KPIs with the real measurement and customer needs. That's something that is always interesting, and you can see sometimes quite opposite opinions coming from the guys who are running marketing divisions and guys who are running technology. But it's normal, especially talking with engineers. That's usually the case. I'm an engineer, and that's don't take it personal. Okay, the first and I would like to say honestly the most important thing, together with the terminal. You will not say terminals here because evolution of the terminal is going on a little bit different direction. But what is very important to say that there are two reasons why we are pushing as operators a lot on the terminal vendors. One of them is quality of service, another one is the profitability. Because it really goes together. Quality experience and profitability for us, as I put here, to provide that what you need on a cost-efficient way goes together. First, and maybe, as I said, the most important thing at this point of time still is the network and infrastructure. Not because of the fact that my origins are from the network. Doesn't matter that I'm at the moment covering both network and IT, but that's the reality. Without the network, you cannot provide a good service. What is the main trend? What's the LT? Reflecting at what we talked. Okay, how much you're aware overall the wireless? No, you probably had the opportunity to look into the LTE. What are the difference, 2G, 3G, 3.9 LTE and 4G that will come later on? It's a high speed and yes. Yes. The whole evolution into the wireless goes into the two directions. The first one is to have the technologies that are spectral efficient. How to utilize existing spectrum as a scarce resource and very expensive resource for all of us on the best way. That's why you have the whole evolution from GSM, that was TDMA actually, to the CDMA on 3G, and right now OFDMA that is coming from LTE. Very important for us is also to say that every new technology, again, is requiring more spectrum, which is costing us a lot. This is one of the balances that on local markets, in every single case, we need to make the balance between how much do we really need, with that one, what we would like to offer, and to try to see what is the actual value of the spectrum. Still, for the mobile operator, spectrum is the most important resource. You can see the different companies are running different strategies. One of the main effects for that one is the spectrum. You see the guys who are from Serbia, there are quite big differences in the way how the network is settled up into the mobile operators in Serbia, just as a consequence of the spectrum. Technologies are coming on top. Two main benefits, you said throughput is the first one, and the second one is the latency. There are a lot of doubts about the latency. And latency is giving this better real-time feeling. How much customer really needs that one? That was that discussion that we are having and and putting ourselves almost every day. On the other side, there are new applications, not that many of them, but one of the biggest examples is the mobile gaming. I don't know how many of you, for example, are expecting that they need to have that real-time activities into the mobile phone and in the tablet and everything else. The latency is giving the better feeling into that one. The second one that has to go together is the fiber. So far we've been using different kinds of cables, copper one, whatever, and in case of mobile operators, our networks are relying into the wireless, into the microwave. And the one of the obvious reasons for that one, it's much easier to build that one, and it was able to fulfill our needs into the starting points when we started with GSM. For example, wireless, my microwave was enough. When we entered mobile broadband, fiber is a necessity. Fiber is a challenge because you need a big hole, you need to put something there, and you need to have all the permits, in our case, in order to do that one, which in some of the countries can be quite different and difficult, unfortunately. Those are the two things that will help development, in our opinion, also the machine-to-machine, or however we call it, because the decent infrastructure doesn't matter of what kind of throughput we are talking, will provide the secure connection in the whole convergent secure environment where you will be able to connect both fixed and mobile devices that you are using. Second thing that is also driving a lot, is that I can mention here voice over IP. IP as a technology is coming. We are all converging our networks towards the IP. Why it's important, the timeline of the convergence between mobile and fixed and having the same technology at the same time never happened as it is case today. Every single time looking into the past, mobile and fixed operators have completely different technologies, and synergy, taking convergence out of them was very hard. At this point of time, thanks to IP, with all the drawbacks, with all the challenges that we need to handle, the IP is one of the main elements of this convergence, and again, Draja probably can spend a lot of hours explaining how the IP can converge fixed and mobile. We have started doing that one, and we are fully aware of the moment that we are building, and that was built, I would like to just again to say, because of the IP. That is the network element. The other element are the services. You can run at this point of time every single service over the one protocol. That is very important. Voice can go there with guaranteed quality, if it's over LTE or over mobile or over fixed. And you can also have all the instant messaging together with the TV. TV is one of the contents that will probably require a lot of capacities, and we see that that one can be one of the killer applications if I may say to that one. The second thing, in order to do everything and have everything in place, and in order to fulfill that what you said, to have on top of the network analytics, and to build the whole IT stack, you need to have certain rules how you are building that one. Every single building block has to have particular responsibility and has to be, and all the interfaces has to be standardized. There are quite nice picture about the comparing the systems that are connected one to each other, and they're calling spaghetti, because the main challenge so far with the IT was that we were just adding IT boxes on top of everything and connecting everything with each other. The second element of that one is the evolution towards the lasagna approach, where you are building a middleware and actually distinguishing front that what customers see from the back end that is under our responsibility. This is giving the intelligence, this is giving the same touch and feel in every single point of interaction with the customers for us, which is very important in order to satisfy the overall customer satisfaction to be on the right level. At the moment, there are at least 2 or 3 schools how to do it. What is also very important that we have seen quite big of convergence towards the same trends and the same rules how it has to be done, and who will in the future work more into the IT part will face a lot those rules, because developing that one, there are some quite strict and very precise elements into that one. From the definition of the interfaces, how the systems are connected, towards the everything else. You have mentioned, same experience, doesn't matter what kind of screen you're having. It's very nice to say, and it's sometimes not that easy to be fulfilled, because different contents are having different needs, and in the backup you are mostly using the different technologies in order to fulfill that one. Multi-screen still, unfortunately, I would like to say, is high. So far the technology development was not that mature enough in order to provide that one. We've seen that going forward, at least the promises that we are getting from the vendors are going completely in that direction, that we'll be really able to have the full convergent experience, doesn't matter what kind of screen and what kind of content we are using. And that's one of the stories. You can find a lot of nice movies about that one, how it will be in the future. So far it doesn't work that well. And as I said, for every single technology, maturity is very important, and one of the main examples of the things that were advertised too early into the market and the expectations were raised quite high is the 3G as a technology, because we haven't started, expectations were big, nobody was able to fulfill that one, and satisfaction curve went dramatically down. That's why also the mobile operators and overall operators are much more careful right now with pushing just new services and just new things on the market. Devices. A device is and it's not part of the network. Smartness of devices is making for the customers a lot of nice things, and also is making a lot of challenges and headaches for the operators. That's also fair to say, because the behavior of the device today is quite different than it used to be. All those devices, smartphones, are almost all the time connected into the network, which is actually requiring a lot of resources that has to be reserved from our side. That, of course, has its own cost, but even more important, the whole dimensioning world has been changed in the last couple of years, just as a consequence of smartphones and smart devices. For us, the very important thing as operator is to find the ways how to manage those devices and how to manage our network in order to provide very good quality of experience. We are working a lot into that one, and the main challenge that we have seen so far is that there is no, unfortunately, one single standard that is defining that one. It's not on the horizon. There are a lot of attempts, but unfortunately it haven't happened. And even more important is that device, especially operator system manufacturers and developers, are trying to make the whole story closed. People who are using actual Apple phones have seen that they have completely closed ecosystem, and we cannot enter that one as operator, and we cannot manage those devices in a way how it used to be done. You remember with all those messages, configuration and everything that network was sending whenever you are having the new phone or put the new SIM into the new phone. That one, the space and all the activities and the amount of activities we are able to do right now is quite limited. Yes?
I have a question. Do the operators need to adjust to the new paradigm of smartphones where the software side is, how do they separate, then the networking side, and then they don't have access to as many information as before in a mobile phone?
It's not a question of information, it's more a question of the setup. How to use the service, and that's what you are downloading to configure the phone by itself on a way that can be friendly towards the network. That's the main challenge. It's not about the data about the phone, because data is something that is your personal ownership, and that is handled according to the agreement that we as operator are having with you. If you would like to have a backup on our side, we can provide it to you. But for the rest, everything what is personal has to stay personal. And that's one of the challenges with the intelligence that you've been referring both 10-15 minutes ago. How to also make this intelligence in a way that we are not entering your privacy. Because it's also fair to say that a year or two ago, when cloud hype was rather high, we were all talking about, okay, who cares where something is? Doesn't matter. The most important thing is that this service is working. In the last 6 months, because of the lot of leakages of the data, personal ones in different countries, who had full control over the data, doesn't matter. Is it the data from the residents of those countries? You can see that walls are building again. And especially governments are not that keen to allow that free transfer of the data, of the personal data, first of all, across the border. Because it's always a question, do you know where your Google account is? Nobody really knows. Really nobody knows. Do you know where your pictures are? Nobody knows. Facebook, whatever you're putting there, really, but we have seen it as a trend that it will be even more open due to the fact that information security importance is rising. Some of the new barriers are coming, and they are built into the laws and into the local regulations of the countries and the governments. Cloud, I have started cloud, as I said, a lot of hype. You can also see that when you look into the trends of looking from the vendor perspective, the whole network will be in cloud. You will have some basic things exposed to the customer, and we will have everything somewhere in the cloud, the call capacity, everything that we need in order to run that one. Still not that mature, but what is mature is the importance of the very good and big one data centers who can collect all those things is increasing. And you can see that doesn't matter that there's much more of them every single day. The price of having good data center is only increasing. It's really very important, because again, supply and demand doesn't work in a natural way as we would expect. How to connect cloud from both terms, from the network side and service delivery. I have mentioned some of the services that you can sometimes buy. You can have LinkedIn, but you can upgrade that one and pay for that when you're buying service. It's our into the cloud. On another side, network has to provide every single service. And the main question, again, just to emphasize once again, is the privacy. Privacy will be a big question, and if you're looking for something you would like to invest your time, since you're on the beginning of your career, information security in that area is something that when you look into the salaries levels in the IT industry, which are increasing, that is probably the biggest increase into the last year or two. oops, the last thing. And now, machine to machine. In our case, vertical markets integration. Government, first of all, I would like to say government, because I will talk later on about Serbia. There is a huge potential, first of all, into the government, and everything we have seen is related to some kind of government-owned, on this or another way, companies. And everything what is on that side of the line. Health, transport, utilities. Government utilities mostly, like in countries like Serbia, goes together because still utilities are owned by the government. And the transport, I will show you a little bit later. So far, the biggest success was made into the transport, and this car fleet and similar activities are following are probably the first and the best use case that's shown some kind of usefulness and mixed with a little bit of profitability. Another thing that is very important, and you can say it isn't not part of the machine-to-machine, is the surveillance on different ways, adding TV, that there will be mass market also over there, because the importance of that one is increasing both from governmental and also from the private side. And looking into this, those are actually the most important trends seen from the mobile operator and convergent operator. Is it something that is fully mapping with your view coming from the university? Do you have something that you consider as completely unimportant, and there is maybe something that you believe has to be there instead of, or?
What cognitive radio concept?
Cognitive radio, great. Cognitive radio still is a hype due to the fact that spectrum is a scarce and very expensive resource. We are putting a lot of efforts on a group level on research of the cognitive radio, because Telnor has quite a decent R&I, research and innovation unit, and is very connected to the institutes, especially in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. And cognitive radio is on our agenda, still not mature. Still, a regulatory framework has to be adopted in order for that to be in practice. When it will come, I do not expect, just can help, when is the next World Radio Conference? It was, I think, last year? It was last year. I cannot really recall when is the next one. But as I said, first of all, the regulation has to be done globally, that's spectrum, and then it has to be adopted locally.
So basically you're pro-oriented.
Yes, we see, because, no, let's be very open. Are you using Wi-Fi? That's the same point. Actually, being competitive, and this is the regulatory side. Another side is hardware, because talking about the radio, it's physics. It has to be adopted to the particular frequency, or at least spectrum band that will be used. If it's too wide, it's rather hard. It's not a software problem, it's actually the hardware problem. And it is on our agenda. We are looking white spaces, and there are some, it's not white, there are white and there are this gray or dark. They're introducing even more. And for example, if you look into the regulation today, you have seen that there is a first and secondary service you are having. But still, the Wi-Fi, where are you from? Super. Still in Montenegro and Serbia, you can see a lot of, I remember when ISP started offering more internet in Serbia, in Belgrade. They could put it on the highest buildings across Belgrade. After quite some time, when the internet actually raised and went up, the interference that they were pushing against each other was that huge that when I was talking with the CEO of one of the ISPs at that point of time, he said, guys, I will give it to you for free if you're able to use it. How to ensure the whole regulatory regime to be fulfilled, especially to the countries, unfortunately, like Montenegro and Serbia are, that it's a big question, because still with the Wi-Fi you have similar situation, doesn't matter, it's fully regulated. That's why I said it's fully yet not matured, but I believe that after the EU have the clear opinion about the digital dividend and everything what will actually left after the TV digitalization, digital dividend and digital dividend 2 will be on the next World Radio Conference, the main topic. I believe that the next phase is to talk about that one. Yes. We are not operating. The main thing, we as a mobile operator will wait for a standardized way of using that one. There is another example, IMAX. It was licensed, but not fully standardized, and you can hardly find any of the mobile operators who have really invested a lot of money into that one. We are actually quite following and we are loyal to the 3GPP and technologies that are going from that stream. For the niche areas, you can find a lot of small operators who have more of willingness and they're streaming more towards those Wi-Fi, like whatever kind of technologies. But as I said, because of the indoor coverage and because of the data demand that is coming, I see the future also in our networks if it's able to be done in a fully controlled way. If it's not, there is no future. That's simple like that. Because you always need to protect somebody who has paid for the spectrum. That's the most important role. Secondary service will always be secondary, and it will be on the end of the story without any guarantee of the quality. Okay, something more. Trends, something you have learned, read about, which is not machine to machine, Internet of Things. Okay. And as colleagues said, needs of the people are driving relevant changes. On one side, if you are customer correct and politically correct, this is how you're positioning. On another side, you can see a lot that the whole industry is driving a lot of new needs. And one of the main challenges for us is how to actually drive some of the new needs, which requires a lot of investment into the education of the overall market, and how to, on the end of the story, make it profitable and put it on top of the business that we're having today. Driving a need is also mobile internet is one of the needs that we are driving through the smartphones. Because when it ended up only into the dongle, it was limited usage. But with the smartphone, that was the clear example how you can drive a need from the operator or industry side. Because you cannot always get those responses from the customer researches that, of course, we are doing all the time. Just please think about that one. You will be in a position to think about the new application. You will be in a position to think some kind of new business model. It's not only about needs that are driving development. You can also drive certain needs going forward. And the last one, written time. Great. Machine-to-machine Telenor. One of the things that when we are, you know how it goes actually. You have an idea, you're spending a lot of time, but in order to get the money to continue, like on university, you need to go somewhere and to show some trends. We are using a lot of analytics from different consultancy companies. One of them is Analysis Mason, there are Informa, and there are actually a lot of them. Depends on the area they are covering, you can say that they are good or bad, and also depends on how much they were successful into the predicting something. One of the graphs, the latest one that is coming from this year, I put it intentionally, is coming from Analysis Mason, and actually it's showing this supply and demand story that I said. When it starts growing, and as an industry, it will be more acceptable for the end users to pay for it. Some of the areas that analytical companies see the biggest needs when it comes to the machine-to-machine, of course, are utilities. And we are using a lot into the utilities. I will mention later on, first of all, the examples that are coming from Norway, unfortunately. But that's a fact, not a lot from the region, from Montenegro and Serbia. Healthcare, increasing. Financial services. How to actually put and bundle all those things. Financial services, machine-to-machine, mobile data, voice, SMS. It is very important for us as a mobile operator. I can mention into the trend security. Definitely it is coming from the physical one. It is one of the very important things. Retail business, always, it's about scale. Retail business is always quite big. If you're able to put something into the products that have a big scale, it means a lot to the customers, and you can play with the average revenue, and you can play with the margin. Automotive and transport so far going very well, and the last and probably the most important thing is the government. Based on different trends, different researches, based on that what I presented, what is the Telenor? Telenor has quite a big footprint and expectations when it comes to machine-to-machine. We as a group have invested a lot of efforts and also a lot of money in order to see and in order to define the whole industry around the machine-to-machine. Even, as I said, we have different spin-off companies who are owned by Telenor 100%. In contrary to one of the vendors' prediction, we believe that one day billions of devices will also be connected by the mobile network, and I would also say fixed one. I'm always teasing my colleagues from the Ericsson about the 50 billion of the connected device in 2020. Srđane, is it right? Yes. Ericsson is, let's be very fair and honest, one of the front runners together with Telenor when it comes to machine-to-machine. And if you would like, if you're interested in getting more insights from the industry perspective, Ericsson is maybe one of the most valuable resources at this point in time. Looking from our perspective, we have really the global focus. We have two completely globally oriented companies. This is Connection, which is mostly providing connectivity. Good connectivity is the key. All around globe connectivity is even more key. If you're able to have a SIM reliable enough and who can roam and always have the connection all around the world, that's a competitive advantage. Those guys are doing that one. I will give one slide about this. How to enable new services. This mid-layer API exposure, everything. This is a story about the Telenor objects. As a part of the cooperation between on different projects between Telenor and Ericsson, Ericsson acquired the platform that is completely developed by the development that was part of the Telenor at that point in time. There are different reasons why it was done, and but still the focus is there and the company is there, and they are working on this enabling story. And there are companies into the Nordics, into the Norway, who are providing dedicated industry solutions. Of course, the business models into the machine-to-machine are different than the others, are different than traditional mobile ones, and I will show at least some of the examples of those ones. One of the company which doesn't exist was Telenor Simplus. That was the first and pioneer step for Telenor. 10-15 years ago, entering the machine-to-machine with electric public utility into the Norway. And they have, I think that the number was 7,000 to 8,000, 100,000 connected different devices from the electric power utility. And that was the first business model that was built around scale, not revenue per single unit. Because talking about the big numbers, 800,000, €1 is a quite decent amount. Depends on the operational cost. Okay, this is story coming directly from Connection. I intentionally took some of their slides. We've been talking with them for quite some time. Yes, and just to say, on the end of the story I haven't put because we don't have it as a separate legal unit. I will show you two use cases in particular for talent survey. What we're doing here and what we have done so far with some of the comments about our experiences so far. Okay, Tower Connection. First and the most important thing, as I said, is fully customized theme that is good enough, reliable, and cheap enough in order to serve needs coming from machine to machine. This is about the scale. It's about the particular features that has to be built in there. And of course, this is the main element. SIM is not only a SIM without the network. They are providing full communication redundancy in terms of different roaming agreements all around the world, and not with only one mobile provider per country. That is very important. That is providing redundancy, that is providing reliability of the whole connection. And even in some of the cases, depends on the country, they are taking care about the type of the technology. Is it GSM, is it GMPS, or something else? One of the things that you should also take care about is that talking about the machine-to-machine based technology is very important. And we have seen that machine-to-machine has to be one of the obstacles for us as a mobile operator to discontinue with GSM. Because so far, the majority of the base of the SIMs is based on the GSM. And that is not that good for us on the long term. And that probably will have to be changed. Next thing, of course, they have the platform. I hope that it's a little bit easy. And standardized ways of actually having the whole story and exposed towards the application development and also towards the potential vendors. What is also very important, they have 24/7. It means that they are following end-to-end the whole product they have delivered, and they are doing it for a whole year. This is very important because majority of the industries are not taking care about that one a lot. For us as a communication, that's a normal and usual thing. Use cases, security. First and the most important one, more than 200,000 installations in particular elements all around the world. This is one of the, you can see it also in Serbia, I believe also Montenegro. I'm not aware of the other countries, I'm not very often sorry about that one. But this is the security company coming from the Scandinavian region, and they are widely spread at least into Europe, providing a lot of different services from the physical security and actually going up onto the security ladder as much as possible in local markets. They have started in 2004, quite a big time. Fleet board, fleet management, Europe and Middle East. The most important thing when it comes to the connection is they're actually embedding the devices and SIMs into the factory, and that's the difference. They are not working with the consumers. They are consumers that they have fully business-to-business model, and they are not selling it by 1 to 2,000, doesn't matter. Their aim is to go into the Volvo, go into the Daimler, and actually having it produced and put it there originally into the fabric. Volvo, I mentioned, post-crash alarm, of course connected with GPS. In case of any accident on the road, they're immediately sending information and even making a call. Safety, security is very important, and telecommunications and the industry are quite important to that one. In the Europe at this point of time, more than 10 countries that this particular product is working. The last example, is remote health monitoring still in the Scandinavia only, but in place, which is very important, and can to be spread also around in case there is a need, and of course in case there is a drive. Not to be forgotten. The next company is Telenor Objects. As I said, their ambition is to go on application level and to have full control and monitor of any device that machine-to-machine SIM or whatever will be put it in, and they're just focusing into that one. Here you cannot say, unfortunately, there are sensors, actuators, devices. There is some communication that is coming through different networks. That's for them very important. It can be through the satellite, it could be through the Wi-Fi, it can also be through the GPRS edge and 3GPP stream. They're taking care about the interface, and of course they have the direct connection towards the applications. This is the company with a lot of focus, and this is the company who is working also globally and working together with the Telenor business units where Telenor is present in the local markets. Not to compete. Sorry? Yes. In our case, it's not Serbia only anymore, it's Montenegro and Serbia. Talking about Telenor, we are having common plans for both countries. And it will be, in the coming period, quite hard to find a product that is launched in one country and not present in another one.
How does this platform compare to some of the other platforms?
Honestly, I'm not able to give good quality, but I can, if there is a need, I can find more details. Because we had a workshop with them, but we will not focus that much on that one. And the question is actually, you can maybe say about the platform that was purchased by Ericsson from the objects. Do you know any detail about that one? Because at the moment Ericsson is pushing much harder on the market as a consequence of that fact.
I mean, Ericsson has a platform which kind of deals with the lower, the part that's not visible, the communication part and the interfaces with devices. That's this device connectivity platform.
Oh, yes.
But I'm not sure about the part from connection.
Or objects. I think it's objects. They were developing that need. Okay. The next thing, Telenor taxation. Real-time information about the loading units of the companies in the European rail and intermodal freight industry. You can see what is the service portfolio. This is some kind of car fleet management. It's not a car, it's not a train, it's mostly the train. And they have a wide spectrum of the services that actually they are offering. They are trying to make the full solution. They are working across the Europe. And as always in Telenor, they have separate profit and loss, and they have to be profitable. They have complete solution and trying to rely to have as much as possible synergies with the other Telenor dedicated units into the machine-to-machine. The next one is completely Scandinavian sea environment. Telcage builds and delivers complete remote operations and monitoring for aquaculture industry in Norway. For them it is very important, it can be important for Montenegro as well. And you can see that they're pushing a lot into the specific business models to serve particular needs per region. That's very important. And Norway as a country is quite different comparing different regions, and they really have some small different needs. And they are trying to make different business models around that one and leverage, of course, on the end of the story into this one. The last one is again a lot of space, small amount of people, very densified, and they have a lot of different cattle, goats, deers, and whatever. And this is the company which is only taking care about this fleet. Sorry? But you have nice mountains. You can use it there. And as I said, the business models around the machine-to-machine, at least what we've seen commercially, not what's in the labs, are really trying to fulfill some of the specific needs on the local, really local markets.
I think the business model for that particular service is an interesting one. First, they use, at least that was the case maybe 3 years ago. They were using only GSM, nothing else.
Yes.
Just GSM and with some extended coverage, I think. And the other thing is that the sheep owner, they were paying, I think, 20 euros was the price for monthly cost of monitoring where your sheep is, which is rather...
For Norway, it's peanuts.
Yeah. Norway maybe not, but in general
it's peanuts for Norway.
But then they also had to buy this necklace that goes around, which was I think 100 or something like that euros. But the thing is that so the sheep are mounted, and in Norway mountains at least they have wolves, and as you know from all these stories, wolves like to eat sheep. And it would be okay if the wolves were not protected by the Norway government, which means that you can't. The wolf goes and eat your sheep, and you can just say, fine. They're not able to do anything. So they get, because of that, the Norway government subsidizes the cost of this, and the sheep owner, he can insure his sheep based on the fact that it was there. And when the wolf eats the sheep, they have the necklace, and they can prove that the sheep was eaten, and they can get insurance back. So it's really
the whole value chain is fully covered.
Yeah, so it's really not a straightforward thing that, okay, I have a sheep and I just want to know where it is. Is it behind this tree or that tree? But it's a mix, a lot of...
There is a value proposition behind that is not always obvious and seen.
And it's quite often with the machine application.
The vehicle communication and track monitoring, your Volvo thing that you mentioned, some countries also offer it as a part of insurance.
Yes.
Animal feed for your car.
Market needs, most I covered this one, since we are going without time. Okay, looking from the mobile operator perspective, what's very important? You need to have focus, again. Machine to machine is not widely spread into the organizations, and so far we've been developing it as a, it's fair to say, best effort business. If you would like to earn any kind of money around that one, you need to have people who are dedicated to that one, and it has to be fully built into the way how you are communicating with the market and doing overall business. Because it has to be seen as an integral part, not as a side blow and some kind of activity that you will do or not. Doesn't matter. When it comes to business to business in Serbia and also in Montenegro, we are very focused into that one. And that's part that always of our business offer if there is a need from their side. Of course, that's the most important. Value add, as Srđan mentioned, sometimes is not obvious. You need to look into that one and to see what are the main. There are always teeny things that maybe you can earn a little bit of money. This is still niche area, but it's a scale game. That's very important. And the margin on the scale is acceptable a bit lower. For us, that is very important. We are having communications and we are enabling that one. That's what we are guaranteeing. Together with that, it goes together and it's packed as one product. Partners, I already started. This is very important, and how to attract the whole community to work into that one and to get and bring the new ideas into the market. This is very important. It's rather hard, especially when you're starting from scratch.
This is based on partnership companies who are going to do these end-to-end services?
Partnership companies are, because we are able to provide full communication service, convergent one. We are not always seen as the most innovative companies, as operators and providers. That's why we need a partner who is decent enough and able to behave according to the certain rules. Because on the end of the story, you are somebody who is frontliner and who is selling the whole product. If we do not see those companies reliable, we cannot sell the whole product because we are guaranteeing for that one, and that's not something we can afford ourselves. But partner, app, good idea, thinking is very important for the whole industry. 24/7, I said, somebody needs to take care overall, and it again goes at least a little bit to the partner. That application, that service they are providing has to be very reliable and has to fully be integrated into service level agreement that company is making with the customer. The most important thing. Standardization around Srđan probably will mention it so many times. One of the key things also for the machine-to-machine, as I said, is the standardization. Everything has to be settled up on the standard interfaces in order to get to big scale and in order to be profitable and not to mix going forward. Solution-based selling, that's very important. We as a companies have to sell the solution. We are not selling the minute, we are not selling the SMS, we are not selling the data. I remember when we introduced GPRS, at that point of time we had Ericsson as a single vendor, and on the first workshop the advice was, guys, you need to sell the service, not the speed. Unfortunately, talking about 4G, 3G, 2G, everything else, still not that many services are for sale. Mostly, unfortunately, local operators are communicating speeds. I don't like it, but marketing thinks differently and they're pushing it quite ahead. Okay, Telenor. Our approach. We have a brand. That's why I said the whole value chain has to be compliant fully with that brand, and we have sales force selling it to business. That's the opportunity for a small company who have the idea, who have a product, able to put it according to some standards and to bundle it together with us. We have billing and accounting. Usually, you as a small company who are having some content, doesn't matter what kind of that one, you are usually not having billing and accounting. It goes together and it is provided as a full bill to the customer, and they doesn't care actually who is providing billing. The capability is mostly built into the telco operator. And what's even more important, we are investors. As I said, the main prerequisite has to be in place and somebody has to invest. Mobile operators are investors. If they see the good idea, they invest in that one. No doubt about that one. That's perfectly simple. That's fine. Serbia, so far. I will show two cases. The most important probably, Srđan can complement when it comes to Serbia. I'm not fully aware of the Montenegro, I have to just step back, unfortunately. The main challenge in Serbia is lack of regulation into the government and especially into the public utility sector. If the regulation is in place, if the whole game is transparent, then investors will be keen to invest because they will saw on the end of the story how much they will earn. Of course, there are certain things that you're doing because of the social recognition, but if you would like to do the full business and to develop the full business case, it really has to be done on a fully transparent way, and you need to know what are the steps in order to do something, and predictability is even more important. Unfortunately, we see demand, we see a space into the Serbia, but still it's not fully utilized because of that fact. I hope that it will happen. I don't know how it looks into the countries you are coming from. If you have any example, good or bad, it would be nice to share. And any case you've seen that is a good or bad example when it comes on the way how it's organized into the country. Are you aware or not aware of that one? Okay, two cases. for Serbia. GPS positioning and fleet management goes together for the waste management companies in Serbia. This is one of the things that we have already developed, and we have more than 500 vehicles connected and followed in Belgrade and 10 other cities. Of course, one of the main interests, I will just try to translate, is from the management of the companies to control the guys who are running the vehicles and the way how they're spending the fuel. That's how to optimize that one. That is the value proposition. That is the value that they're seeing into that one. They don't care a lot about are they in this street, when it was filled out, but for them the most important thing is not to be misused in terms of the fuel, in terms of the resources the company has by the employees. You have real-time measurements, you have real-time fuel level, everything is there, and of course you have logs if somebody would like to see what happened in the past and history. It's possible. And heating plant nearby city Subotica, they're using our service, real-time reports with 90 different parameters from 200 heating stations. It's again about the utility. As I said, car fleet and utility are the two areas that we have seen the most usage in Serbia so far when it comes to shifting ship. Any good idea will be more than welcome. That's the last slide. Questions? Comments? It was hard last night. Good wine was here. I hope you have tried only local wines.
It was kind of local, yes. Not local, but...
From Hungary?
No, it was from Herzegovina.
Okay, then it's fine.
But the
Tvrdoš.
the oldest family is from there.
Šta Tvrdoš je?
No, some...
Okay.
Okay, thanks.